Hi everybody, I'm here at my house, and today I would like to tell you that just like the responsible adult I am, I took the time to watch the 2005 straight-to-DVD film Candyland, The Great Lollipop Adventure, and within the first 3 minutes I realized how many silly shenanigans occurred to where I was barely able to finish the 57.5-minute long movie that I just watched off of YouTube. Conceptually, the world of Candyland doesn't really make that much sense. In my mind, everything that happens in this movie is exactly what happens in the board game, where you keep playing cards with colored squares and go to that colored space. It's an easy game that even babies can comprehend, which is why it's a baby game recommended for babies. As crazy as it sounds, Candyland is actually made of candy. Almost all foods in Candyland are strictly candies or sweets, because it's candy. It's called Candyland for strawberries and bananas are mentioned, so I would assume they have easy access to them in this world. But there are no vegetables that are ever mentioned or shown in both the board games and in the movie. There is no water or rivers of any sort, but they do in fact need water because there is farming and irrigation, which I'll get to in a minute. Otherwise, they drink sodies and probably the chocolate swamp. Maybe hot chocolate too. That makes sense, I think. At first, I thought real food wouldn't be necessary because the population was just all candy creatures and stuff. There's gingerbread people and other living candy things, like what is that? And there's a living dog basket and stuff. Most of the living candy things are living, and they are alive and capable of comprehending death. So there's no issues, right? They don't need normal food. Nope! Wrong. There's humans in the castle with King Candy. As a matter of fact, I counted the population of humans in the movie. There are around 40 people in Candyland. As a comparison, the smallest ever recorded kingdom in the history of the world is the Kingdom of Tarlova with a population of 57. Speaking of kingdom, there is in fact a monarchy. But it's okay. Nothing bad comes from there just being a king and his two daughters. One of them is Princess Lolly, who can fly, I think. She can. And the other is Princess Frostine. In the original versions of the game, she was Queen Frostine, but in more recent versions of the game, she was redesigned from being married to King Candy to just being her daughter. So this creates a new issue. It's never really established if they were father and daughter when she was Queen Frostine, but if they were, then I think that would imply incest. And incest is bad and not good. Other than that, there's also the Duke of Swirl, who replaced the way cooler Mr. Mint and then immediately got removed again. He's the Duke of Swirls. Yep. Also, Lord Licorice kinda doesn't really matter. He's just kind of a bad dude who likes licorice a whole lot. And he is an evil doer wanting to rule all of Candyland. But then there's Grandma Nut. Don't laugh. She's confirmed to be the grandma of Princess Lolly and then maybe the mom of King Candy. It's confirmed she has access to peanuts and walnuts, which at minimum means that she can grow them, as seen on the board game, which implies that then there's irrigation and farming, which implies that there's dirt, which means that rain would be required in this world, and or the dirt is edible because it's Candyland and everything in Candyland is candy. But then that would also mean the candy would get soggy from the rainwater and the place would not be edible. But then in the movie, and in the board game, people eat things off the ground all the time because it's Candyland, and I don't get it! They all unanimously agree that licorice is bad, and they don't like Lord Licorice because of that. All I know is that they're jolly Candelarians because besides the movie, there's a straight-to-DVD game with 3D models of some of the characters, and they look... Let's talk about Candyland culture. Queen Frostine can ice skate. Grandma Nut, being the nut entrepreneur she is, has a car. And licorice is bad. Also, instead of hours, they have gumdrops. That makes no sense. It is objectively the worst ever recorded form of any type of measurement. Except for meters. But the most important day in Candyland is the Sweet Celebration, which is what the movie is actually about. I would assume that they don't have any other holidays, but really, we can't tell. Maybe there's like a Candy Hanukkah or something. I don't know. But here in Candyland, the biggest elephant animal cracker in this wacky gingerbread house is their socio-economic standpoint. Or maybe it's a fictional world that I'm looking too far into. I don't know! It's not actually known if there's any nearby countries or Candyland is really cut off from everything. If they have nearby countries, they would absolutely trade sugar, but I honestly don't know what they would take in exchange. Just kidding, it would probably be toothpaste and literally anything that doesn't revolve around sugary food. Maybe bricks. But then that creates a new issue. If Candyland has too much not candy, then Candyland's name doesn't make sense anymore, and it would just be land. And that is very dumb and stupid in that order. The only non-candy that I could think of that isn't a fruit is human meat, which would mean cannibalism would run rampant in this silly board game. So overall, Candyland is pretty wacky. How do they get access to meat? Are the peppermint beavers full of meat or candy? Is that dog a basket? Is the basket a dog? Why can Princess Lolly fly? What even is Gloppy? Is there a religion? Do they have a candy god? If so, what is their name? Is it Gloppy? Have there ever been any military conflicts outside of Lord Licorice? If so, is there a military? Are all kinds of candy, including the branded candy in Candyland? Or is it just the generic kinds? Because I would really like Mike and Ike's in Candyland. Is frosting the snow equivalent? Because if so, would the frosting melt or would it come from the sky? And how do they get so much frosting? Would the melted frosting be the water equivalent? Would they be drinking melted frosting or would they be drinking water? Because if then, would the frosting be water? Has there ever been a candy revolution? Do they have carrot cake? It makes sense for them to have carrot cake because carrot cake is like a sugary food, but carrots are vegetables, so it's never really implied. And I think I'll cut it off there. Let me know if there's anything you want me to talk about in the comments. Maybe subscribe if you haven't, and at this point, join me next time as I consider the possibility of talking about gravel. Until then, toodaloo.